why I think AI is fundamentally different is actually AI is not really a BI tool. In a BI, the intelligence is the humans. The tool allows you only to investigate, correct? There is no actual intelligence in an Excel spreadsheet, but it allows you to formulate questions, keep digging through the data, and eventually your intelligence is enhanced by tools to explore. And I think largely BI tools failed because they were trying to package this insight. They were assuming the machine would provide the insight. And in the old world, the machine wasn't capable of providing any insight. It was not really intelligent. Now, in the new world, also people argue that there's no actual intelligence. It's still a mathematical model. There is no, there's no magic there. But that's not entirely true. The modern tools, of course, it is still a mathematical model and all that, but it is very good at dealing with poorly structured or unstructured data. And I think the previous generation of BI, because it required extremely well structured data, kept running into these problems that data in real life is not very well structured. And which is why we used Excel spreadsheets. Where a human can deal with almost any kind of incorrect structure or incorrect information or all kinds of things. VLOOKUP saved a lot of our lives. And my personal opinion is that the new generation of AI tools kind of solves this problem. It can take fairly unstructured or undefined or bad quality of structure, lot of exceptions, name is NAME somewhere and NAMB somewhere else, and so on, things like that, and correlate these in a way that a human would find very convenient. So therefore, it is much easier to now ask questions of your data. It's still, the main intelligence is still the human, but the asking of questions has become a lot easier. What do you think?
BI typically was done with periodic data. If you were looking at market insights, if you were looking at benchmarking, if you were looking at sales reports, they were coming in on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, annual basis. And so that has radically shifted with this new age of consuming data at volume on a persistent basis rather than a periodic basis. I think that's one major shift which has happened, which allows you then to do better decision making. A lot of the automation that AI has facilitated has taken away the manual rigor that you required, because if you looked at one Excel versus the other Excel, you could never find the numbers matching in it. So you spent half your life actually just trying to make sure that the two are aligned, or chose one of the two depending on a whole set of factors which were there in the organization. I think that single source of truth, and I think that is something that we've been chasing for 20, 25 years since I've been, part of the corporate world. I think that story hasn't changed. We're still looking for the single source of truth. I think we are a little closer maybe to that versus, where we were previously. I think the third thing for me is just the capability. I think today the level of investment that individuals and organizations both are putting into having a data first mindset has significantly changed.
So, one of the challenges I think personally is it's not a tool problem. Of course, AI is better tools than BI. But the silos are not a tool problem, it's a control problem. People don't like breaking up silos. They want their own world. And organizations in particular keep saying we are flat and we are, empowered and all that, but end up being power verticals. And therefore, the data remains within those verticals and no amount of tooling is going to change it.
If you have a process where transparency is of paramount importance and there is access, then that is a culture. And then there is a people-centric culture where the power centers that you're talking about are commonplace. And in India, traditionally, I think we've seen a little bit more of the people versus the process take center stage. I think the new kid on the block which has made it more complicated is privacy. Because now you have there is a genuine need to make sure that each department, for example, a marketing or a sales department, is managing the privacy of the data. of their customers, their suppliers, etc. But again, over here, I think the process piece becomes extremely important.
I think
That resonates with
privacy is
you.
the new CISO problem. Earlier CISOs were very, or rather considered to be very uncooperative. They were forcing rules into people that people didn't want. But of course, many CISOs went overboard and enforced too many rules. But by and large, the CISO role is a very valuable role. And it took some time for organizations to accept that as a valuable role. They otherwise used to think, okay, CISO is only there to create trouble for me, and it doesn't really add value to the whole thing. And I think increasingly privacy today, the first reaction is that it's a obstruction and not a value add. But increasingly people will start realizing, I'm sure Facebook has already started realizing, that their privacy structures are actually a value add to the quality of service delivery, that people adopt it more. Or Apple, for instance, has made a huge business out of privacy. That people adopt it more because they are more private. And so it becomes a business necessity.
Earlier, the focus was on a lot of the IT data, but over the last few years, that OT data has also become extremely important. To my mind, breaking those silos, getting those insights from this data has changed or created a paradigm shift in terms of the response times, the kind of decision, the quality of decision making. So let me give one or two examples, and then Mukesh, if you can, sort of chip in with your experience at Capgemini, how it is going, maybe in manufacturing or other industries. But what we've seen is, for example, if you look at our electrolyzers. I was working in the chemical industry, so we had electrolyzers. And one of the problems with the electrolyzers was around their performance management. So as we previously discussed, these electrolyzers data was captured on Excel sheets. And the data points were about 1 million data points per minute across all the electrolyzers put together. Obviously, on Excel, we could not capture that level of data. But that was the potential that we did by, making sure that we've got our sensors in place, that we started looking at getting that data into a data lake and then building a model on top of it. The other use case that we had, which was related to the electrolyzers, was around the life cycle of these electrolyzers. So there was, as per the OEMs, a particular life cycle. And we found consistently that our electrolyzers were not, living up to that life cycle. Again, using the models that we built, what we found was that we could actually save millions of dollars per year, on a recurring basis, by preventing breakdowns from happening. And this happened because the data now was not being collected on Excel. We were able to go back, look at patterns, look at the anomalies, look at causal relationships between why this is happening. And all of that allowed us to start making these kind of multi-million dollar savings per year across all of our plants.
Right now, we are still at the stage where we are writing prompts, right? Of course, now understanding the intent, mantra, right? What is the person really trying to do? And then the AI works on it. That will be one of the future which we can look at it, wherein it understands the human psychology, human thing, understand those part, and then try to do this. Agentic AI try to get into those points wherein it try getting closer and closer to that. But we will see a lot of those use cases in the next 2 to 3 years where it is trying to automate some of your tasks. But still, your ideas and thoughts. I'm doing some research in this area wherein human here, we have the highest energy concentration. So depending on our mood, we send certain signal, and signal varies every few milliseconds, right? Now, ability to capture those, understanding ke, soch kya rahe ho, what are you trying to think, and what are you trying to understand, what are you trying to achieve, that would be a big one out of it, which will also include helping people with disabilities and all be able to communicate through this channel as well, while some of the prototypes are already available, but this is going to be something big one. And last but not the least, be able to do little bit more on the using the graph theory, understanding, be it anti-money laundering, be it social influence, be it a lot of other things could be the future where AI can actually crawl the other part and understand what's happening and then try to bring the solution. I think the future is all about bringing AI more closer to human and helping them, assisting them with what we normally do with our psychology and intelligence.
Even the most obvious inventions take a very long time to take off. And AI is such a large paradigm shift that I don't see people saying, oh, this is great, let's adopt it tomorrow. In fact, people will have all kinds of fears and concerns, and you'll often hear AI is not secure. You heard that a generation ago, cloud is not secure. Before that, data center is not secure. It has to be in my physical office, otherwise it's not secure. Before that, you used to have, I was in IBM, that electronic data is not secure. So HSBC in Fort used to print out all its data and keep it in a physical storage in Vashi somewhere, because they didn't trust electronic data to be secure enough. Thing like that. I mean, every generation, every time you have a large paradigm shift, you have a very large resistance to that shift. And AI in particular, I see the resistance being more than a cloud or an internet or something.
I have a slightly contrarian view to that, and I'll just share that with an example. While I agree that the agricultural revolution and the industrial revolution took their time and they allowed a generation or two to actually make that transition, I don't see that happening with the AI, revolution. One is because of this exponential change which is happening so fast. I don't know in my last 25 years of being in industry any other technology which has a release happening every second day. You look at it, and with AI, seriously, after even having spent so many years, one is struggling to grapple with everything new that is happening in this space because of the speed at which it is happening. So I think that is one thing. Now, how many of us over here consider WhatsApp as a technology? Anyone considers WhatsApp as a technology? Right? Nobody considers WhatsApp as a technology. This is exactly what has happened with AI. With ChatGPT coming in, because English is the new coding language, everybody is very comfortable talking to ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity. You name the LLMs, and depending on how much you've played around with them, you would have a certain level of comfort. As this medium evolves and you have voice first, or you have and which is already happening, and it is multimodal, and that is also happening at scale, what I'm seeing is that human beings will actually embrace AI much faster, even the older generations, and we will have to, or we will end up using it much faster in our day-to-day lives. And then, that digital divide which exists today in the minds of people regarding AI will phase out much faster.
See, my views around here is, if you look at it, it's the adoption of other technologies took definitely much longer. But AI now, every board meeting, the word AI has to be there. Every CEO address, AI word is used. So I think if you think about even simple as Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed, right? There's not many much option people have. They just have to use it. At the same time, and there's a parallel news going on wherein AI is going to eliminate jobs. So a lot of people are now jumping in and they say, you know what, let me learn faster so that at least my job is secure. When the time comes in, at least some of them will perhaps secure job. So I think combination of both of these, right, it actually having much faster adoption.
All the companies sitting here, I can guarantee you, none of them actually allow in their companies their developers or their employees to have open chat GPT in their computers. I mean, maybe one or two of them do. Even Copilot they don't allow. Most of them block it off. So yes, all this evolution is happening. There's a lot of potential that is happening. The technology is maturing. But the adoption at the enterprise level, the laggards, most people are not anywhere there. And that is going to be your primary challenge. And there'll be many reasons why. Most common reason will be security. It's like saying compliance. It's like saying first date पे prenuptial agreement लेके जाओ. ऐसे थोड़ा ना होता है. But that is how the nature of enterprises are. That they first look at all these barriers. कि barrier बहुत सारा है, ये तो रहना ही चाहिए. And then they look at the business benefit. They don't actually go the other way around, saying business benefit बहुत है, lower the barriers. And this is the nature of most companies, most enterprises. The best ones do it the other way around. Like if you look at a Shopify who has already adopted AI quite a bit, even though it challenges their business actually. Or Google, for instance, now they're facing this court case from European Union that the ad revenue is not flowing to their partners. But also means that Google's ad revenue is also not flowing, right?
If you are grappling with this challenge of, how to manage the BOAI, or how to look at the governance, then one of the things is, as an organization, do you have the appetite, and would you be willing, because this is a technology which is, not necessarily going to go away, to actually provide a bare minimum chat GPT equivalent which everybody can use. We are using them as individuals, at home with our families or otherwise. So allow for that, and then build up the use cases, and allow, like you're saying, the role based or the use case based scenarios. So that was just another perspective that I wanted to share.
Both of you are business leaders and he is on the technology side. Business leader is hesitant what my data is going to reveal to my customer. Okay. The technology person is hesitant that, okay, whatever information I bring out should not impact my customers in the negative way. So there is a kind of a alignment. How do you get it aligned? How do you get into an agreement in that, okay, this is what we need to do, this is what we should not do, whatever you don't want to do?
Specifically, when the leadership team, the business team, is AI literate, data literate, then this problem doesn't occur as often. Why? Because they are aware of it that yes, data technology will help us do this part. And as long as we are looking at the top line of it, business will get excited about it to adopt it. So multiple client interaction, multiple business interaction, they will ask, okay, fine, how this will happen? There's always a fear, they question, what about, are we not going to breach the GDPR or data privacy, DPDP? And those questions do get asked, right? But as long as we are clear about in front that, what, these are data collected in the right way with consent, this is how we are going to do, this is the model. And most important, which is already a law in Singapore, right? Is my model bias free? Is my model having a drift? Is my model audited and can be used? That part is still not done in India, but Singapore and US, some of the laws require your model to be audited, right? So now, if that is part, that fear is always there. What if the model accuracy is poor? And what if I take a wrong decision? So as long as we are able to do it from the technology side of it, they are okay with that. And InfoSec and all, once, I think initial couple of projects, there's always a back and forth. But once you get an understanding about it, this is yes, and that is no, I think those are also on board on top. Ultimately, all of them roll out into the business heads.